Renaissance artist, Jessica Henry here. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing one of my favorite artists. This is Susie Gordon. We come to you from Central Ohio, right in the heart of Amish country. And Susie is a highly respected equine artist. Equine is just one of the things she does. She does many different genres, and I'm just really excited to have her here. And I'm going to just turn it over to her and let her tell you a little bit about her background, where she came from, how she got involved in art. This is Susie Gordon.
Hello. Always have had horses, animals, so that love protruded into a love for drawing, and drawing turned into my art class in high school, which helped me explore new mediums, pencil, watercolor, and then I went to college. And of course, every place you go, you're just totally inspired by other artists, and I really believe that's the journey. I have a gift from the Lord, and it's what you do with it is what matters. So I really love it. I pursue it. It's a passion.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Who are some of the artists do you feel that helped to identify what it is you wanted to become?
Growing up, I had a wonderful gentleman and his wife that collected old bronzes and Arabian horse. They had horses and beautiful bronze and paintings, lithographs of Adolf Schreier, J.F. Herring, all those old artists that in the 1800s and 1900s that portrayed horses very well, anatomically and beautifully done. So I was inspired, and so I started to collect books and mounds of books, and visited museums to see originals, and so those artists really helped start.
They're the best teachers.
Yeah. So that's really, but since then, so many other artists today, living and deceased, that I've just admired, and every day I look for new things to help. So, but yeah.
So you've been a professional artist for, would you say, most of your adult life?
Yeah, I through college took classes, and then attended the Columbus College of Art and Design, and went to a workshop with Carl Brenders out in Montana, and that really was totally eye-opening for me to actually say, I can make a career of this. And then just started painting, and went to the Southeastern Wildlife Expo, attended that show as one of the artists for 13 years, and through the journey of that, I met so many great artists, and it's just really every year, it's like you learn new things, and you never look back, just continue on.
So there was a turning point when you said, this is it, this is what I'm doing the rest of my life.
Right. I was actually at a dog training business, so I was training dogs, and I was driving down the road, and I just pulled over, and I said, Lordy, what am I doing? I'm not pursuing this art. So I ended up changing everything and stopping the business and enrolling in the college, and never looking back. So I love it.
Well, we love your work.
Thank you.
You can really see God's hand in everything you've done. It's wonderful.
No, it's a journey. There's times where I wonder, but it's fun. I love doing it. So thank you.
It shows. It
Thank
really
you.
does. Well, thank you. We are honored to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. We decided to paint horses since I have horses. You're doing horses, so I brought my one horse, Frisian, a registered Frisian mare named Petra. And I'm going to paint her and start by doing a drawing, and also the first wash of it, and then I'm going to work on it a little more so you can see.
Sounds
I'm not
good.
happy with it. It gives you the idea of what I do up here in this little house.
Love it.
A photograph of a real interaction between two stallions. Wild Mustangs.
I love the wild Mustangs.
I love this Mustang.
This is a really it's all about push and pull. I mean, what you keep, what you don't keep.
Yeah, look at your selectivity. You didn't even draw that outside edge. Beautiful.
Because you don't need to.
Right. Knowing what you don't need.
It's all in what you want them to see. So if I don't want them to see that leg, I know it's there.
The mind fills it in.
But by putting a
very dark leg, it would take away from the whole. It's just, again, a lot of it's well worked, but then a lot of it is scribbled and negative space.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Pencil's like,
Oh,
work.
It is. I love pencil and pen.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
I wanted just subtle.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Marching to the Beat Eye Drum.
Really nice.
Thank you.
I'm getting inspired.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about the fact that we've been so busy doing these lessons and traveling.
Yeah.
We both have all this work that we want to do. Oh wow, that's really something.
And that's how they were, constantly staring at me.
Hmm.
They're kind of like Tara's eyes. They're
Mhm.
the same top eyelid.
Now, how long does it take you to do a piece like that?
Probably a week. I
Mhm.
might start it and just kind of
Mhm.
fiddle with it. Depends on how many hours, but
Do you do others at the same time?
no, like these, you say most
That's
people
beautiful.
think they come from moles.
Uh-huh. Okay, so this is just a mechanical pencil?
Mhm.
How do you get it so black?
And graphite is very transparent, so
Just layers and layers.
0.7 HB
Are you cross hatching or are you going on the?
cross hatching
Mhm.
behind the tree.
So you,
I mean, our people would
Mhm.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
you said you called this one steadfast?
And they were two Amish workhorses to show that they don't always dump them off at the end of their life. These two horses had this field, and they're definitely not working anymore, and they're living their days out there. And I thought that was a good tribute to them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, leaving. Again, how many fence posts do you keep in? I wanted to use that triangle, 1, 2, like this
Mhm.
triangle look.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, I put my hand right. Each his own. But there's so many of these guys in there.
Holy
There's
smokes.
so many of those little vultures staring.
To each his own. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
The detail in that structure.
That is exquisite. And they're vultures.
Yeah, looking up at a
What is that
driving
tower?
to the west. Driving to the west, some little town. Just some tower. Such a cool. I just like the idea of their legs and the proudness of the family. The boy could be a young warrior,
Mm-hmm.
and the Muttley dog, and the teepee in the back. Again, it's about shapes.
Mm-hmm.
The leash, the pole, all the angles of the legs going.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was I liked it compositionally. And the faces of the kids, I mean, they just,
Look at the
and their
small
little pot bellies. I just love their, I don't know, it was just something in the father, he's just Mr. I'm gonna live it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes you have a picture that you take and you just have to do it.
Right.
For whatever.
Right.
It's just fun to do. It's different.
Okay.
Starting bison, just,
Did you get those shots in Montana?
those are from Pete Zulazek. He graciously gave me thousands of photographs to use.
Really?
Absolute thousands.
Hmm.
A lifetime of photographs. That
Look
I
at
could-
those
so
squiggles.
honestly, I have no excuse for not filling up 3 sheds full of work. This line is hinting that there's something amiss here. It's a raggedy, lice-infected back based on those lines.
Mm-hmm.
If it was all smooth like that, it wouldn't be true to what's going on there. So, basically, the thing that I learned brushing a horse, you always brush in the way that the hair goes.
Right.
You brush, so why not draw the way the hair goes?
Mm-hmm.
So pretend you're brushing the animal
Mm-hmm.
with the brush, and then do that with your pencil. So I always start with a frame of reference. That way if you're working on a drawing and you run out of space and oh, I need the leg, and by giving yourself a frame of reference, it helps. Just work on that, and within that is this figure, and you can kind of yourself figure out where it's at so that you can use the top and the bottom as negative shapes. So really when I start any drawing, I want to make sure that I block in the first shapes that I see, but I also think about what I don't see, like the negative area. So that part is also very important. So I'm actually drawing the outside space too. And that gives me an idea, hey, where is this at in here? So already I figured out how far over, how high, and giving myself lines always helps me figure out things. Negative shapes, so especially in here, I'm looking at this too. I'm looking at the horse and that, but looking at negative, negative, negative. Keep your hands moving. You don't sit here and draw. This is not drawing, this is writing. So hold your pencil out at the end. But I've done this outside now, I can kind of figure out what's on the inside. But what did I talk about? I talked about this being an egg. There's Petra's dinosaur egg. And then I talked about the peach. There's the peach. I talked about the triangle of the head. Talked about the other triangle. Now her head isn't facing that way in this drawing, but I'm just showing you that's what it is. And it can be turned. And then I also talked about the wedge-shaped triangle here. Wedge shape here, wedge shape there, and there. So, and then you can do proportions. Okay, so I have to figure out how long is this back? Is it too big? Is my pear way too big, or is it? And that's when you look at the individual animal, and you say, well, this is only half of that, so you can bring things down. So please just start with those simple shapes, and then if you have too many lines and it's too dark, never make it too dark. Now you can start erasing with a kneadable eraser. You can start erasing some of those lines and deducting what you see. So in a nutshell, that's how you get it started very quickly. All right. So that just shows you the negative, the space. Yeah, it's not.
So that's just one coat of rabbit skin glue and then a couple coats of the lead oil ground primer allowed to dry for about 6 months. And so you're going to be demonstrating on that today?
Yes.
Okay.
And it has, linseed oil in it.
Okay.
I use titanium white.
This is the Anders Zorn palette that you're using?
Yes.
And can you tell me a little bit about your easel here real quick?
This is Edge, Pro Edge easel. It's a wonderful easel. It simple, elegant, light, made nicely. You put your panels in all magnetically, very simply.
Oh, and they slide.
So when I go to put a painting in, push it together.
Oh my goodness. And these are still available?
Yeah, this is all through Casey Baugh, his website.
Okay, we'll put that as a link.
Yeah.
B-A-U-G-H?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
All right.
So I don't really, this is my choice. It's not the exact Zorn palette at all. It's just I like a limited palette, so this is fun for me to explore different colors. I'm always prone to reds and browns and earth colors, and most of my subjects are from the earth, so why not? So the yellow is either yellow ochre or Old Holland yellow brown. Just a nice quality yellow. And I like Rublev, any kind of reds. This is a red, Sartorius red. I may not put that on because I'm not really going to use that, but this is a showing one that I like. I really like transparent colors, so this is Gamblin Transparent Orange. It's amazing.
We'll include a list of
Yeah, I'll just put that out front there. It looks pretty thick and pretty dark, but it isn't. It's very light. And this is also Gamblin 1980 Transparent Yellow Oxide, the white, titanium white, or Winsor Newton. I noticed this is a little cooler than the other one I have, but
the 1980 titanium.
but I don't know for sure. I just seeing it there.
Yeah.
Like I say, when they dry, they and with a black horse, you don't always have to use just black. Some people are against black. I like to have a little ivory black to mix with my grays. Makes beautiful, like blues. So I put some black, very black. Petra is not really black. She's a black Frisian, but she's the color of everything around her, the sky. A lot of people see like purples and such and shadows of a black horse. There's nothing wrong with painting that. So you can always put a little purple just to say you don't have to mix, but you could easily mix from red and blue, your purple. But this is a nice purple.
Dioxane.
Winsor Newton. So you can just put that there. And for people who like to paint black horses, it might give them a pretty lavender shadow. Again, you can mix your own. You don't have to make. You don't need many colors. You only need a couple little colors. I like ultramarine blue, deep. This is
Deep?
Yeah. This is ultramarine deep by Van Gogh. Sometimes you just have paint and you need to use it up. Whatever. I do like these transparent colors though. The yellow and this orange, I could just paint with that. And as far as green, honestly, you can just mix a few. Viridian is a nice green if you have just a touch of it. Put that
back here by the purple. I don't really use these guys much, but just a touch. I don't use a lot of colors, but I'm just showing you some of the variation. This is a black horse, so we're not going to use a lot of yellows in that, but a lot of people put cadmium yellow out there. So we'll put that out there.
Just cad yellow medium?
Yeah, just you can, if you want to make a light green or something, you could have that for that. So the other things I use are just Gamsol, like turpentine mineral spirits, and so I use that to clean my brushes, and in between I also use Prohibition oil medium.
And they can get that off of a website?
Yes, so we can add that link.
Okay.
Very
and how much
sparingly,
is that bottle?
About $100.
$100, but that'll last you
Forever.
forever. Yeah. And you would use that as though someone might use linseed oil, just little teensy bits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Very good stuff.
It is very strong smelling, so if you have sensitivities, that may be something you want to
Yeah, I have a fan right here. I turn on, and to kind of keep it blowing away from me
Yeah.
the whole time. So that was a good idea.
Okay, and brushes?
And then brushes, of course, you could buy the most expensive brushes, rosemary, for some of the big washes and such. I just like a few little brushes for demonstrations like these. So one of my little favorite brushes is this brush, handmade in Barcelona, Spain.
Oh yeah, these are good ones.
So, this is a number 2. I like little flats. This is another one. This is a Kolinsky natural brush, not synthetic.
Probably number
Just-
2 or so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is a 6. So this is 2. Brushes, it depends on how you apply brushes. You can take the finest brush you want and splay it out and make all kinds of tiny little marks. So for me, I just depends on what I'm doing. So you'll see. These are just brushes. I mean, I do buy a lot of brushes, so Princeton, I mean, honestly, they're not magic. When Haga came, she uses rosemary, but she was just telling me, don't worry about buying all these brushes. You need to get your technique down, your drawing down. That's more important. And this little tiny, I love mixing paint with this little palette knife. It's got this cute little edge to it. And I can do a lot of that. I can actually paint and scrape with it. So I use that. So I put my medium in one side if I'm traveling, and my minerals Gamsol on the other side if I'm going to take this with me. So it's all ready to go.
Now, when you buy this easel, did it come with this glass, and did you paint the back of it gray?
It's all done.
It's just like this. Okay.
It's like a laptop computer.
Right.
You just fold it up. It's
Nice.
hand sanded cherry wood.
Wow.
Very elegant.
Does
And
it shut with magnetic?
the coolest
closure?
thing, that's the cool part. This is all magnetic.
Oh.
So everything's done for you very easily.
Oh, I love that. Wow.
So, and this is wobbly because it needs tightened. But anyway, so this, all comes together, folds up, put it in your backpack and go.
Nice.
Very nice.
Streamlined.
The other thing I use many of is Q-tips and paper towels, because I do a lot of negative, taking things away. I call it push and pull. So I start very lightly, but sometimes it's just too much, so I take it back down. I use these industrial grade paper towels because they are oil absorbent. Guys in the shop, definitely worth buying these. So this is my paper towel. So what I like to do before I do a block in after I've done a drawing onto my panel, I really like those lines to be there. Whether I ever see them or not isn't the point. It's the fact that they're there. It's the bone structure of whatever I'm doing, my reference. So I found a way to outline the graphite lines with this permanent ink. So this is burnt sienna. You see it, the brand? You can put the link to whatever.
Okay.
It's definitely cleanable with water, but for some reason it doesn't. When it dries, it does not mind turpentine. so it's always there. It's a nice line. So I use any old brush with a tiny line, and what I do is just dip it in water now, not turpentine, water, to thin it just a touch. You have to have a little paper towel because you have to control how much of this goes on. Basically, you just are trying to improvise the line permanently. So a lot of times I would stroke it onto there or add a little more water, whatever it takes. And this is my cane that I use to put my hand, and I kind of stroke the line, and for some reason it grabs the tiniest line, and I'm able to, it's like beads. It beads onto the graphite that I like to see. So I guess the more water I would add, the more it would bead. Can't explain it any other way.
And this is on the oil ground.
Yeah, this is the oil ground panel. You see how it's like it doesn't want to stick to see how it wants to go? It wants to be on that graphite line. So I don't know, just experimented and I figured it worked. And it just beads onto that. And when it dries, it's permanent. I don't know. You just don't want to lose that drawing. I find that you spend enough time drawing, you might as well keep it.
Have you been drawing horses pretty much all your life?
Yes, I was born on a pony and had a little sketchbook all those years, and but you can see how it just, it like almost travels down. And this is just, like I said, a preliminary thing. I do draw or paint just right onto the canvas too, but I think just showing a demonstration, it's important to, especially if I'm doing harness or a lot of mechanical things on a team, or a lot of pattern on something. It's important, I think. And you can like have fun with this, but I just am using this right now as a, like here I can make a really heavy line and you can see how it beads, it squeezes back.
And that'll dry right away?
Yeah.
Wow. I notice you're still careful though not to get your hand in it, to smudge it.
Yeah, you could smudge it, but I'm excited how the thinness of that line, that I don't know how it does it. Probably something with the oil ground. I don't know if anybody does it. I just explained that you need to experiment and you need to do your own thing. You're learning from this video, but you are the artist, so take the liberty to be an artist. Don't do all the things that everyone says.
Too many rules in life, right?
Right, there is no rules, there's no right or wrong. This is just what I do, and tomorrow I may do something different, honestly, because I believe that it's a journey, and you need to study other artists, because then you'll learn what they do, but don't just copy that artist. Try to listen to what they've learned, because guess what? They've learned it from other artists.
We were just talking about that. Finding your own voice.
Yeah.
'Cause everyone is unique.
Yeah, and you're going to see it differently. Like, you're seeing this differently than I do. I don't know why, but you are.
I'm just overall impressed.
So just try to, thank you, you're just trying to, see what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to do it, because I don't know what else to do. Honestly, because this is what I do. This is not really a, it's spending a lot of time looking at, books. Always just get books, real books. Don't just look online. Sit there and study a book and look at the pictures and hold it upside down. Look at it. Why is that Why does that make you excited? What is it about it that makes that you excited about it? And then look at the best picture that you can of it, so that you can see the strokes, and then you can say, oh, look at that, or look, I see the canvas. Look, they didn't even do that part, and then that's exciting.
Finding out the why do I love this?
Yeah.
It was,
Why is this important? So anyway, this is just, again, getting that information in a red. You could use any color you want, I mean, for outline. But if you want to see that, maybe parts of it in your painting, pick a color that you want to see.
So is that sort of a rule of thumb that you would use
For this-
for toning a canvas? Is
Yeah.
if this peeks through, will I be
Right.
happy with that color?
Sure. Like here, it's two beaded. It's gonna be above the surface. So that would be something where I would possibly want to get rid of that look right there. So I would suck it back out or something.
And you dried the brush off and just
Yeah,
kind of
because
pulled
I want
it
it.
back.
I want the brush to suck it back out.
Would this technique work the same just on a regular acrylic cotton canvas?
I don't know.
Okay.
You could try it.
So, but if they put a coat of,
A gesso or something.
Yeah.
Some kind of gesso.
would it have to be oil ground, like Gamblin has the oil?
Yeah, I don't think it would have. I think it's just something to do with the surface.
Okay.
It isn't. It gets dry really fast. It gets gummy, so you have to play with it until it goes across, just like that did. Like here, it's sticking, and now it's not going to bead because it's getting all gummed up. This is. I just put it on a mason jar lid enough. I just wanted to show you. You can shade with it too, but there's no reason to do any of that
Yeah.
because it's not. You're not going to see that. Like there, it dripped. So I want to smear that out. I don't want ridges, and I don't want. Honestly, I don't want these little bumps. So I'm just going to fan this out, so there's no bumps. Doesn't matter if the color changes. My line is still there.
Because it would dry in a little beaded lump.
Yeah, but I can still see that underlying.
And now it looks like a sketch.
Yeah, so the sketch is done. Good. I got that in Arizona, Sedona. Putting the medium, I usually just coat it with the medium first, and then I do my block in. So,
The medium is the prohibition stuff?
Yeah,
Okay, this is after the ink has dried?
yeah, and it's already dry.
Okay.
So let's put a little bit of this concoction in here, just a touch. The lid on
And
it.
do you know what's in that?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's prohibited.
Don't drink it, basically. Skull and crossbones, don't drink it.
And the website explains what it is.
Okay.
It is linseed oil,
Okay.
but it's a bunch of other stuff, and they make it in batches. It's very incredible stuff.
Small batch.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you that real quick here, that you just put some of this on and notice that the ink doesn't move.
Now, what is the purpose of this
A
step?
little bit of ink moving. This is, it just sets everything up for your
Okay.
paint. Just kind of sets it all up. It's just a nice, it just sets it up.
Now, this won't dry while you're painting. This will stay kind of.
No, it'll just keep everything,
Okay.
instead of mixing it with your paint,
Ah. Okay.
as you're painting,
Right.
it's already on there.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's already there. And I think with some of it makes it very luminous. Like in here, some of this real subtle little things, all based on the fact that I had already put that medium on there. I was able to do layers. So I'm just trying to thin this out. You don't want to use too much medium. Just good old fat paint is fine. I say fat over lean. So you start with very little. I always almost like watercolor things first. Use my turpentine or whatever as my game's all like watercolor, just layers of thin little colorings. Then the biggest areas that you want to look at, your white accent, whatever it is. That's would be your thickest area of paint. Right, so that's done. So that's just showing you that's done.
Right.
What it is. Okay, so it's all set up. I'll get a hat too.
Gray is very important.
How do you mix your grays?
Well, I do have a gray, Torrid gray,
Oh, Torrid, yeah, okay.
and it's right here. So I poke into that a little bit. It's like I go around, you know, what I see. If I have a color, then I make grays with it. A cool gray or a warm gray. So you always have lots of grays and such. So anything that I do. But what I really like is this transparent yellow oxide, because just a tiny little touch of it tints it. So you're never really starting with the white, you're just kind of starting with a tinted red. It's just something beautiful. Or orange, transparent earth. So already I have these nice little colors. And then the blue, you know, kind of mixed with all that, just makes a nice gray.
And that was with Gamsol.
This is this transparent colors. I squint to see what really I see. I want to see. I don't know what I see. You can kind of just start like a black and white. Like you don't have to start with the colors of this horse. You know, get the tones, get the value, get all of that, and then you can bring out the rich colors. So that's what I'm going to do. Just kind of start with some burnt umber, some red, just to get a dark. Add a little bit of. Kind of get a wash here and just kind of tone everything down. And then this is where you just get it on. Darks and lights. It's a dark horse, so you don't want the background too dark. Sargent, I've heard, had two things by every painting, and that was something very black and something very white. And that by having those two right by your painting, you can always gauge your values. So this medium causes the coolest things going on here. I'll show you. Most people would be scared of that. I'm not.
Now you're using the Prohibition medium?
Yeah, it's already on there. I
that's right,
haven't used
that's right.
anything.
Okay.
But because it's on there, on this lead white ground, it's giving me all of this texture. And that's okay. It can easily be blended, or it can be left. That's what I like about things that are really weird. And this can all be wiped off with the remains of that original drawing still on it. That's the glory of it. So anytime I could add a little dab of Gamsol and I can smooth it. But because there's so many cool textures already in the wood and in this, in the rate of the way that this is drying, there's never two paintings alike. And you just have to have fun with it. But you can still see the drawing if you need to. But I'm just trying to give you the idea that there's no more of this white. But within it is so much going on that I can play with. So I'm just taking a paper towel, dipped in a little bit of Gamsol, and I'm just giving you some texture. Like I was saying, it's kind of like a watercolor. Everything's just kind of, and then the horse too does not need to be white. As long as your drawing's there, you could play with this. If you really have an area that's wrong and you can't stand it, then dip it in Q-tip and then swipe it over once and then swipe it again. It goes right back down.
Nice and clean.
So everything's all still there. And you can clean up everything. You can clean up edges, or you can make drips. You can bring out highlights. So that's how I start, just having some fun with that. And then I look at the photograph and I say, well, what's the darkest of this whole area? What's the darkest dark? And I'd like to kind of get that put in place so that I have something to work around. Then I would take my brush, a nice little flat little brush, and mix up some dark. It can be blue, it can be red, it could be brown. And that makes a black. I don't think I have any black on here, so I don't need to really. And then you can just squint and see like where you see that dark. It doesn't have to be as dark as you want it yet, but put it down where you think that start is. I'd always like to get darker later than get too dark and have to lift the whole thing out. If you're gonna make a dark, make a big pile of it so you have it later. You don't have to keep mixing. Just mix all your dark colors together. Make it dark. So under the elbow, the dark, and then under here. So I'm just never really working in one area only. I never really think of it as a horse at all. Think of it as shape, value, I'm actually always working around it. I never really pay attention. And then I just start dabbing variations to feel the form of everything. The paint will go right over the ink, so you don't have to worry about it. It just covers it. And if something's too dark, then later you can go back with your brush and smooth it out. It's gonna thin out because of this medium. It's gonna thin out. I'm not really worried about the color of it. I'm worried about the value of it. What's the darkest? What's the lightest? What direction is everything going? Have fun with this part. This part is the fun part. This is where you can just lay things out. I would say this is like watercolor because the thinner that you push, the thinner that you go, the lighter it gets, just like a watercolor. So this whole area could be shadowed. What I love about this pen or ink on here is I can lift it back out if I wanted to. Nothing is really set in stone. Nothing can't be reworked. The only thing that can't be reworked is if you have layers and layers of paint and then you need something, just a subtle shift and layers and layers of paint, that isn't going to work because it's going to go right back down. But in this stage, you can do that. You can draw with your paintbrush. I'm trying to get areas of shape. I know I'm talking. I don't know if this is
Yeah, it's great.
going to work.
Wonderful.
I squint a lot. I don't spend much time squinting. And then, after I work a little bit, I flip it over. Like this. And now I can see it so much better. So the little blue in the tail, so I might as well make the tint of this a little bluish. Everything's just kind of tinted. So you just kind of fill in the blanks here. So the areas that are really high contrast, the light, that's where you'd want to make it dark. So I'm going to also lock in this against the light so that the back will stand out. And I can use a bigger, wider brush for that. Take up more time. You could have a little more fun by just making it different brush strokes, different areas. It's going to make these little bubbly things because of that medium. So it's going to make its own little world that you'll have to deal with. Some people may not like the medium because it can be a real pain. I use it. I mean, I use the...
Oh, I'm going to try it.
I use it, yeah, because it's not, it doesn't dry really, really fast, so you can erase it. It
I
depends
love
on
that.
your wood. On a canvas, it might be real uniform. It might be real smooth. But with this, it just goes crazy.
Yeah, I like exploring different things. I haven't explored or played with anything in a long time.
Well,
so
yeah, this is fun
definitely
to
do.
Yeah, because you're so being a dark horse, but she is, you know, got lots of colors in her, so I can make the background dark. I would say very dark because I want that back to pop out. This is just some ultramarine blue. A little bit of red. I don't stay upside down too long. It just it doesn't really. It just helps once in a while to. I like to go back and add a little white just because I get a little tired of just working like this. So I want to see something happen, and so after I get areas where I feel like I can work, then I add a little of the gray. And gray always has some white in it, so it's going to be more opaque. So the opaqueness is what I like to see the form. And just filling in this wonderful shape here. I just see it as a shape. I don't think you'll do a lot better horse paintings if you think of them as shape, because you'll follow that shape and then you'll get the anatomy correct. If you don't follow the shape, it's going to look really weird. So I'm just adding some blue with that gray, make a blue gray over this area. It's like an undertone, and if it's too dark, then leave it to work on it in a minute, but then take that value to an area where you think it might work. So then you can, instead of redoing your whole brush again, why not use it? If you see that value somewhere else, look at your black and white and see where else would it go that dark. By squinting, definitely doesn't go where I put it, but it would go right here. So I take that and I say, well, it might go over here, and use it. And then I remember to get rid of that one because it didn't go there. I'm just putting down, this is way too dark, but I'm going to put a little bit of that lighter value there and there. It sets it up, sets up everything really. Everything's about color temperature. That teeny bit of white is going to bring out all of this black and blue, all these little spots. Don't really have to look at the photograph. You don't have to stare at it. You don't have to photorealistic it. Just so now I want to get rid of that value here. I don't really have to get rid of it. I can just kind of take a wet brush and smear it, and that'll make it lighter. And that's the value that I want. So I guess that's my reasoning there. Here's where all these smears you can just steal them and smear them out. All these weird, it's almost like they're little funguses or little sores.
Fungus sores.
Look at sores. You just smear them out, feather them out. And I'm just using this little blue-gray around places that I may like it later.
Is that kind of your same approach when you do portraits too?
Yeah.
You just take whatever's on your brush.
Yeah, and I've learned that from gouache painting, because gouache painting you can steal, it never really dries, you can just re-wet it. So I'm always stealing paint from areas. Like there, I made a mistake earlier, well, just grab it later and smear it out. I think if you didn't have this medium, this might be a whole lot more difficult. So it's just kind of filling in. I guess it's just like paint by numbers. I mean, you really honestly don't need a lot. It's just the value, what is light, what is dark. I've put in some of the darks that I like, but I have not put in the lightest light. And where would that be? That would be right here. So here's where I would get a fresh brush with just some white. And just as a guide to know that that is where, right here is where that whitest is going to be. So that just helps to kind of know there, and then up here. And I usually tone it then later, but I just give myself that point of reference. Where would I want someone to see the brightest brights? And then over here, a little bit less, but it gives you that soft little bit of, and you can tint it later, tone it down so it's not just white, but it's a highlight here. That's what I love about oils, because you can smear it, you can feather it, it mixes. So that just does that. Now I use this white and I will mix some more grays, and there's a lot of red, a lot of that color in her, so I'll add that next. It doesn't really matter what brushes you use. So this is just kind of tinting again, just kind of picking out. The squinting helps. Maybe squinting and finding another color around here that's about that color. I don't know, just figuring it out. Photographs lie too, so you never really know. I'm just trying to get ideas of color and kind of doing it very loosely. It really is like paint by number, I think, because you know, I've already made all the little kind of areas. So what color do you do? It's just not numbered, so you got to pick the color.
But I try to encourage them too, even if you've never done a horse and you really have no interest, just push yourself a little. Just try it. Just, you know, see what you can do. And
Yep. This part just takes time. This stuff sets up,
Yeah.
and as it sets up, then you can start putting things together, layering, lots of layers, and I can keep working too. Take a picture when I'm done. Happen. That's instead of just a black horse with purple highlights. You know what I mean? That's not what I see. I see so much. It's actually difficult because there's. But I like these little brushes because they just. You can get a point, or you can do a little flat area. Everyone has their preference what they like. The bristle brushes with this type of smooth, it makes too many scratchy lines that
Yeah.
I can't really
It'd move it
use.
around.
Right.
too much.
This is more smooth.
I know how that's travel.
That is absolutely exquisite.
Isn't that something?
It's just, I just
Yeah.
find, I'm just staring at it. The design, the cool and warm balance.
That's
the
definitely
no-tan.
cool and warm. I need to do more. I have a whole series of them that and I have this $5, you know, the old westerns. I could sit in there and get so many ideas from that too.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of it.
Yeah.
That's what Bob Kuhn did. He would always look at the National Geographic movies. That's how he got the animals running. The lions.
Oh.
Most of those were from watching those National Geographics. So there's ways to get, you know, ideas. Okay. I'm not really gonna do a background, but I like the fact that this drags, and you can get really cool textures with this medium once it starts to get a little sticky. And for whatever it is, it also helps as a grid. Each area then would need to be checked. But really, it's kind of like drawing cross-hatching. Okay, cross-hatching, what is that? That is just crossing over and knowing that underneath you will see some of that. And by cross-hatching or even drawing with a very fine brush or whatever, you can establish areas. I think it would be wise for students to take just a sphere or a rectangle or a triangle or a cone and paint it so that you know how to do the shadow of dark and light. Because when I talked about shapes here, this would be your ball that you would have to paint. And how does it turn? You know, what colors would you use as it turns down? You know, it all blends together. So if you could just do a ball, you would already know how to do that turn. It's a good exercise.
That was actually one of our very first lessons.
Was it?
Ball.
Oh, good.
We did a sphere,
Excellent.
a cube, and a cone.
Excellent. Because that is right here. Here's your ball and your little cone. How does the turn? They could get their notes out with this painting, and they could. How did I turn that, or how did I do it? What I'm mixing is just anything that's a little dark. Just going over top of them lines of ink. Kind of almost scratching little marks now, which all can be blended later. I don't have to blend any of it now. That's what's the wonder and the beauty of oil. It's just still going to be wet. And squint, always squint as you decide where do I put that next. But here is where it recedes back. This is if I was going to touch it, I would touch this area, and then it would flow backwards. It would flow around. So I have to make it do that by making, that's just exaggerating, but just to show that that goes back. And then this goes down. And then this goes up. If you were going to brush this area, your brush would go up, around, like that. And it would flow. And this is the tickle area. You don't want to brush right here. They'll, yeah, that's the tickly spot. But that's another. Just all this wonderful form. I'm not going to leave it like that. It just shows you.
We should have a map, a body map of the horse where all the hair flows.
If you did that, then for people that don't know, I can feel it because I've been, with horses. Some things I wouldn't know what it felt like, so I would be the same way. This is just some red. I mean, just doing red. That's the fun with art. If you want to make it more abstract, you can leave these colors. But I'm using these lines to build up everything. And sometimes I will decide, do I want to come down? Sometimes I draw right onto the horse. I see it. I see what I just drew it in my head. It's all there, and now I can just do it again. A little. I was just saying about this painting here. If you say something that has to be really detailed, and you can overwork things. So when I'm working on a painting, I used to do things very tight, very, a tiger painting I did in gouache, so it took section by section by section. So those paintings I really enjoy doing, and you can get a photorealistic effect. But sometimes when you're in the moment, especially when you take your own photos, your own photo reference, or you remember an experience, those are the things that you have to paint, and you have to get the essence of it. So that's why I like this painting, is because whether I feel like it needs to have more done to it or less or whatever, it gave me that sense of I was there, and I could capture something that was a moment. The title of it's Bugle Call, and they do call at the Civil War, they would call these bugles to rise the soldiers sometimes at 5 a.m. And the horses know what those mean. They probably even know what each bugle call means, what they have to do. They're very acute to that. So this horse was very Arabian, just very alert. So the title is Bugle Call. But anyway, in a nutshell, one of my later artists that I really started to admire is John Singer Sargent. And a lot of people know that name, but I think if you really study an artist, you really get a sense of what that journey was like for them. So, like on Pinterest, I have a board that just saving everything from the great paintings from museums that he did to what I've found even more exciting is the little watercolors that he did later in life. And those strokes are very much like his oil paintings. So I kind of go through when I learn about somebody I like, their journey too, if they're not alive anymore. Really, what was at the end of it? Where did they end up? What did they do? So Sargent really shows me that, and Munnings is an artist that does a lot of horse portrayals amazingly. Munnings and Sargent and Zorn, I'm finding myself progress to those because I love essence of things, but underneath it all is the anatomy. It's still there. It's just done more loose, but we really see things that way.
We do, yeah.
We don't see things. This is more detailed, yes, but everything else is not necessary to be tight. Our eyes would never portray all of those details if we looked at it.
Right.
And color temperature is so important. I'm learning about. So I've only done oils for a year or two. I'm very new at oils, and I'm loving it. But every painting for me is a brand new
it takes a lifetime. Like you said, you never really arrive. So that's that on that.
That's it.
Yep.
All right, well, that wraps up our lesson with Susie Gordon. Susie, we wanted to thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
It was such an
Thanks,
honor.
guys. Thanks.